We are live. Talking Iowa Hawkeye Sports podcast is live. I'm in Bakersfield, California. Jason will be joining us from Omaha, Nebraska in a minute. And right in the heart of the hurricane, we have Paul,
From the eye of
or
the storm,
otherwise known
baby.
as Jackson. Paul is actually excited today because he's realizing that his Jaguars are gone from one of the worst teams in the NFL to one of the better teams. So, Paul, congratulations that you finally getting your wish in the NFL.
Right? I actually have a reason to pay attention on Sundays. It's an awful lot of fun. What do you call it when your NFL team wins 2 games in a row? Is there like a name for that?
It's called a winning streak, dude.
Oh, sorry, that's a new concept to us Jaguar fans. So, uh,
Yeah.
but
Well, it looks like they made a good decision on the quarterback that they drafted, and it looks like he's starting to mature and come into his own.
let's be real honest here. The Jaguars turnaround did not happen until we started acquiring some Hawkeye football players. Boy, it sure helps to have a Brandon Scherf on your offensive line, and a Mekhi Sargent and a CJ Beathard. The Jaguars started acquiring some Hawkeyes, and all of a sudden, man, we can't be
They're
beat.
winning. No, I just thought it was an interesting stat. I know we're trying to kill a couple of minutes until Jason can join us, but I thought it was an interesting stat that you posted that the Jaguars have the highest percentage of drives ending in scores. Is that correct?
That is.
I read that right.
Yeah, that's what it says.
That is impressive.
Yeah, I've got, as it always seems to happen, right? Like Iowa's been pretty good and the Jaguars have been terrible. Well, they're just going to keep on this trend where it's opposite day for me on Saturdays and Sundays. Where on Saturdays the Iowa offense not so good, but on Sundays the Jaguars offense is so good. So what do you?
Well, guess what I get to do Sunday morning? And I'm not shying away from the fact that I'm a Vikings fan, but boy, us Viking fans have had probably as much heartbreak as the Jaguar fans have. But they're on at 6:30 in the morning my time.
Okay, are they in London?
Sunday morning, so I get to watch about an hour and a half of it before I have to head for church.
Gotcha. Yeah, I have a good buddy of mine. We were chatting this morning before we came on air, and we were talking about the potential for, if it ever happened where Iowa came up to the Midwest, or the Jaguars came up to the Midwest for a game, and Iowa just happened to be playing an opponent nearby. I don't know that it's ever happened, but I'd love to, come up for a double dip for Iowa, Minnesota, and Jacksonville Vikings game in the same weekend, or
right.
at Purdue, at Indianapolis, at Michigan, at Detroit, that kind of thing. But my buddy who's a big Vikings fan. I said, hey, and apparently there could be potential for something like that in 2024, where the AFC South and the NFC North are on a trajectory. So
we can see. That's their time to get together, huh? Their time to hook up.
But I don't know, in the 25 plus years of the Jaguars' existence, if that's ever really happened, where the Jaguars and Iowa have played a team from the same area on the same weekend, because that would be travel worthy.
That would be travel worthy. It would also be, if that happens, would you like it to have them Iowa and the Vikings come down to the Jaguars for a playoff at the same time Iowa comes down there for a bowl game? You'd have them both right there in your backyard.
See, but unfortunately that couldn't really happen because one's an AFC team and one's an NFC team.
That is true. They can only meet in the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, and Iowa would have to be down here for a bowl game. But, no, it just really couldn't happen. But so, yes, I mean, it would have to be one of these crossover weekends, and,
Right. I don't know. Well, speaking of bowl games, the realization hit me when I realized that, the potentially losing to Michigan, a high percentage this weekend. Then we have Illinois next weekend,
at
followed
night.
by going on the road the following weekend to Ohio State. The, the potential hit me that we might be 3-4 record by the time we clear the Ohio State game. What do you think about that? It seems like a real possibility at this point.
We just take it one game at a time here.
I know it. I know it. I mean, as a fan, they'll take it one game at a time. We as fans always kind of want to look ahead.
I would say this: Iowa's only shot at repeating as Big Ten West champions rests on them winning tomorrow.
Right.
If they win tomorrow, the Big Ten West is still on the table because it could come down to a head-to-head with Minnesota.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. If they win tomorrow, the only other stumbling block that would be a real concern would be Ohio State. And so if that gave them their one loss and we beat Minnesota and that's their only loss, then we would become West champions again. Or as other people would say Iowa backed into the West title again.
Well, look, if you play Michigan,
we supposedly back into it last year,
Yeah. Well, if you play Michigan and Ohio State, you beat one of them, and you get to Indy, you haven't backed into anything. You've just gone back to back. That's all. That's the only thing you've backed into. You've backed that ass up right into back-to-back West championships. So
it would be nice to start to get some of the. I don't know if we're ever going to see Keegan Johnson come back at wide receiver this year, but it would be nice to start getting him back at least after the Ohio State game, where we got a run where we could possibly run the table after the Ohio State game. I mean, it's a very strong possibility, and it would be nice to at least have him back for that run.
Absolutely. The other thing I would say too is, what, if your defense is only giving up 5.8 points per game, you haven't backed into anything either.
No, you haven't.
There's three phases of football, and I know people want to rag on the Iowa offense, and fine, if you want to take the low-hanging fruit, do your thing. But, the defense has been and continues to be an elite-level defense, and so I love it, Casey. Absolutely love it.
Casey, let's hope you're right. Boy, that would be nice to finish the day like that. Oh my gosh, we got such a high level kicker in Stevens, but he is a freshman, and we'll see if they get in that point where they need his foot to win the game. We'll see how he when it comes down to. Right now, he hasn't really kicked in any pressure situations. The only field goal kicker was the other one that kicked in a high pressure situation, and he jumped it.
High pressure, high difficulty, bad weather,
Okay, so it was a driving rainstorm, but still it was like 43 yards. That's chump change for most field goal kickers.
I suppose.
Explain to me, as soon as that happened, they didn't hesitate to switch field goal kickers. So, do you think that they thought that the field goal kicker had a little bit to do with not winning the Iowa State game? Yes, they did.
Well, there was
a lot of things that contributed to it, but they still had a chance to be there at the end.
I think Kirk is willing to make any change that they need to make short of changing quarterbacks. So
that's the only change he's hesitant, isn't it?
That's it. At least on the field, right? So,
So trying to beat Michigan is going to be a tall task, but I wrote the article and I posted it in several Hawkeye sites about what I thought. I think it was about 5 or 6 items that I thought, would help Iowa win. And after I wrote it, but I posted it anyway, my first thought was okay, first of all, this should be a game plan that they should be having every game. That looks like a perfect game plan every game. And I said, I wonder how many people are going to say this is pretty obvious. obvious what they have to do. And sure enough, I got hammered for it. You know, people, be nice. You can
It's
point it out without being mean. You don't have to bully people.
it's
Call
social
me
media.
names and then tell me to go climb a tree. You know, go climb
Yeah.
your own trees. You know, you want to be a bully, go climb your own tree.
Yeah. You have to love social media, man. People definitely, feel fine about commenting on stuff, but nobody else wants to take the time to, put their thoughts out there or put themselves out there like that. But they'll be fine tearing you down as long as they don't have to actually go on record and
Right.
and
I don't even understand why people are like that. You know. Yes, and I wrote out a lengthy response to him because I was going to let it go, and I decided no, I'm not going to let him get away with bullying me. But apparently, he's one of those people that goes out and throws out his nastiness and never comes back because he doesn't want to see what trash or people are throwing his way. He's never come back and read my comment, but I just pointed out, hey, dude, you can point out the obvious without calling me names and telling me to go climb a tree because now you're borderline on bullying. That's bullying,
Right.
and you think you're going to get away with it. I says maybe next time before you post, you ought to really think about if what I'm about to write is that contributing to the discussion, is it adding to the discussion, or is it I'm just only writing because I want to tear somebody down. Because if it's you want to tear somebody down, then don't write it. Don't be an asshole. Don't do it.
You know what I say? You go on these different sites and we have ours that we have up there. We always want to encourage people to contribute. Put your thoughts out there. And on a certain level, we're totally cool with people venting, right? Like we're watching the games. We're emotional beings. That's what makes us human. But after every incomplete pass, we don't need to be hanging Spencer Petras from a yard arm. After every loss, it's not fire everybody. Like we thank God, the coaching staff we have encourages this level-headedness where we don't get too high and don't get too low, because if we went with the waves of fans, good God, what we'd be? We'd be Illinois, we'd be Indiana football, Rutgers football for the last however many years,
Right.
We'd be Nebraska football right now. I mean, that's really what's going on over in Lincoln, if you think about it. They hire and fire coaches, because it's Tuesday.
We have a really good thing here at Iowa that a lot of people don't really understand because first of all, Kirk has been here 23, 24 years now. There's not another program in the United States that can say that about their coach. And then he brings stability, once in a while, most of the time, his assistant coaches stay. When they do leave, they're leaving for greener pastures. They're leaving for, something big in their career. And so far he's done an okay job of bringing in a mostly okay job of bringing in the right assistants. I know we're all kind of questioning the offensive line coach hire right now, but after listening to him yesterday, the media spoke to him, and I didn't get a lot of feedback from it, but he made some sense. He really did on some of the things he had to say. It sounds to me like he does know what he's doing. He does know what he's working with, and so.
I would, I want to piggyback off of what your thoughts were there a moment ago and say, look, outside of about 10, I'll say 10 programs, maybe, and that might even be too many. There's maybe 10 programs in America right now that wouldn't trade the last 23 years with Iowa like that. Mm-hmm. Outside of Ohio State in the Big Ten, Michigan's thinking about it. They might not want to do it, but they're thinking about it. Penn State might not want to do it, but they're thinking about it. They'd have to look at it. Wisconsin would have to look at it. They'd probably rather keep what they've done, but you know, and you know, we haven't had the extreme highs as a couple handful of programs. You know, the Georgias of recent. I mean, up until the last couple of years, Georgia they'd probably be looking at Iowa going, that's pretty good results. You know, right. Alabama certainly is a team that would keep what they've done, but you know, they're not trading their results with anybody. Clemson,
no,
but I mean, pick random team. USC. I mean, outside of the Reggie Bush era, the Matt Leinart era, do you think they'd rather have Iowa's results or theirs?
Well, Texas. I think this year they'd rather have their results over Iowa because they're having a lot better season than Iowa is.
Sure, absolutely. How about the U? We haven't heard from the U in 20 years.
No, they've kind of like since what was his name? Schnellenberger, whatever his name was.
Schnellenberger.
Yeah, it's been since he left that program. They haven't been the same program.
Yeah,
the convicts no longer play football.
Florida State, they did win. You know, they won a national title in the 2013-ish era or whatever with Jameis Winston. Outside of that, they've been average or below average. They'd probably consider, you know, a little bit. So I mean, Iowa fans want to bitch, piss, and moan about stuff, but I don't think until you holistically look at the situation and say, you know, we've had it pretty damn good, especially considering it's been a quarter of a century.
Right. We've done. I think we've done consistently well. I mean, I don't think any other. I don't know. A lot. You know, Kirk has had a lot of 10-win plus seasons under his belt. You know, COVID probably knocked off a season where that would have been 3 consecutive seasons or 4 consecutive seasons. I would lose track on that one, but and so that probably hurt. But although you know that hurt, but I mean this year I don't know. It's going to be tough to get his 10 wins, but I mean he could still get there. I mean it's still on the table.
I think 10 wins tomorrow.
10 wins is if he only loses 1 out of these next 3 games, you know, and everybody's probably thinking that would be Ohio State, you know, which I'm thinking that. Then 10 wins is absolutely possible because after the Ohio State, they can make a solid run. Yes, they have Minnesota and Purdue in there. You know, Purdue's their nemesis lately, and Minnesota is, you know, by all accounts, it's not looking too bad right now, and they do have a pretty freaking easy schedule. After I looked at the remaining schedule, you know, Penn State and Wisconsin might be the 2 toughest games they've got left on their schedule. So you know, this might be Minnesota's year. They might take the West, but they're winnable. We can beat them. We have, you know, two years ago, the year before COVID, we knocked them off, and they were undefeated coming in.
That's right.
Coming into, you know, that, and they still finished higher in the Big Ten West than we did, you know, and so anything is possible. Anything is possible, you know.
Yeah, and look, there's a lot of football to be played. You know, and hopefully Iowa can get some guys back. You know, hopefully we can see Keegan make it back. You know, and maybe we can get it's only going to get harder to get the passing game going as the weather deteriorates in the Midwest. You know what I mean? It's easier to get a passing game going in September than it is November. So
right.
But
yeah, which is you know, Iowa has to go to Minnesota in December.
But the weather can be a little bit
in November, like a week before. I think, is it Minnesota their second last game or Wisconsin their second last game? I can't remember, but they're all right there together. All of them are right there together. Bang, bang, bang.
I know weather can be a little bit of an equalizer, right? And
Mhm.
so even if the Iowa passing game isn't lighting the world on fire, look, defense travels, and that matters, right? So I by the way, I see Brad Pitt over there nodding his head in agreement. So I'm happy to have. And first of all, welcome in, Jason. We're all excited to see you.
Thank you. Sorry, I was a little bit later than normal.
That's all
Omaha
right.
traffic again.
Oh yeah.
But the coach is in the house, and the coach was agreeing. So, do you have any thoughts about what you were hearing as you popped in?
Just that you were on a roll. You were accurate. Defense travels, and that's why Iowa wins games. The offense does just enough a lot of times, right? And they could do just enough tomorrow. Like I have the game 17-14. The defense, JJ is in for a surprise. Michigan's quarterback. Like he's in for a huge – I think he throws 3 or 4 picks.
Right.
He could have done that against Maryland, but Maryland's defense isn't Iowa's defense.
Right.
His end of the game numbers looked good, JJ's. But if you watch the game, he struggled a lot. He missed a lot of wide open receivers. Where have you heard that before? He can move, but he was moving around so much that he had 5 carries for 5 yards with a long of 9 yards because he runs backwards. And he fumbled one time too. So what's going to happen when he loses 15 yards on a fumble with Iowa's defense?
Yeah. Now I would like to point out that that Maryland-Michigan game was even closer than the final score would indicate when you think Maryland gave up a fumble at the 10-yard line on the first play of the game.
Yeah.
And Michigan went in and scored on the next play. Had that not happened, we might have ended up in a tie and overtime game.
Right. And throughout the game, even Maryland kept making mistakes. They were up by 3 driving down the field when Tua threw a pick.
I remember that. Now I remember that.
On a ball he never should have threw. So, or his name's not Tua, it's Talia or something. I don't know.
Whatever.
Something like that. But anyway.
The brother to the Miami Dolphins quarterback.
Yeah, he shouldn't have been playing last night. That was terrible. Anyway. Now you got me on my train of thought. But with Iowa's offense, I think that they don't really have to get the passing game going as much as just throw it deep. Just loosen up the coverage. That's what I've been saying most of the time, right? Is just do it regardless. But make sure you do it to where it can't get picked. That's the key, right? Like against Nevada, he just threw it up. But when he threw it up into a spot to where the receiver, at the very least, can knock it down, right? When you're throwing up the Breck, which I love to see that this weekend, he's 6'4". They don't have a corner that can cover him as far as size, right? So you can throw it up to him and let him jump up and try to either knock it down or catch it. He's not going to outrun anybody in the Michigan secondary. But his size is what makes the difference, right?
Hey, Jason. Oh,
yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I did because I wanted to. This came to mind, and I wanted to hear you talk about this because people, Iowa fans specifically, right? They love to bag on the coaching staff and love to bag on Brian about we don't adapt and we don't adjust and we just come out and do the same thing. I went back and rewatched that Rutgers game, and what I saw something different in that game versus the previous 3 games. I felt like we ran a lot more out of the shotgun. It was a lot more handoffs to God, his name's number 2. Johnson. I felt like we were running the ball out of more, dare I use the word, spread formations, but we didn't have the double tight fullback, where we invited everybody into the box. We had guys more. Is that an adjustment that you saw, or did I make that up in my head?
No, they did. They ran a lot out of the shotgun. There was a lot of holes too. The running game could have been even much better, right? There was one time Gavin just fell down, and he was mad at himself because he knew what he missed, right? So, and there was one play where there was a huge hole that Gavin didn't see until it was late. Gavin could have had a lot of yards, but he ended up gaining 15 yards right up the middle, if you remember that play. But he didn't go right away. Like he did his normal, for whatever reason, he does this little stutter because he can't.
Hesitation?
Yeah, his little hesitation. If he would have just hit the gas right away, hopped on his horse and went full speed straight ahead, he may have split the defense and been gone for it would have been like a 90-yard touchdown run.
Hey, Terry.
Go ahead.
So I was just saying, hey,
Terry. But even he knew it, and that's what makes me happy is when players know when they mess up, because that means he knew what he did wrong, right? He didn't do anything wrong, but he knew what he did to make the play not go for more.
The other thing, fans, again, you're watching the football, right? So you see Spencer hand the ball off to one of the running backs, and then you see him kind of stutter. You say, "Oh, he's not hitting the hole hard," right?
Right.
What you're not seeing is Laporta is pulling around on like a trap block, coming from outside the tackle position, and he's basically the lead blocker on the play. And so I feel like sometimes what you're seeing with that hesitation is you're waiting for that backside block from Laporta, that wham block to come in and make the hole.
Right.
Is that?
No, that is sometimes, but that wasn't on this play.
Right. Not on that play. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Yeah. But you are right. You wait for the wham, but the wham can't be that late.
Right.
Like there's a few times we've seen Gavin, like on the first play, we can just say the first play of the Rutgers game, which was a draw play to Gavin. And he had a huge hole to his right, but he didn't see it. And he was dancing right behind the center, trying to find a little hole here. Instead, he could have exploded to his right. There's not, when you run a draw, like out of the shotgun, I want to say it was out of the shotgun even. You don't have like a designed hole because a draw play is meant to look like a pass play, right? So you're letting the defenders do what they do. You're not blocking for a particular hole. You're just pass blocking, pushing them because you know the running back's going to be running up the middle or wherever. So it's the running back's job to find a hole on a draw play because the offensive line is going to make it look like it's a pass play. So that's part of the keys for the linebackers. That's the part of the whole draw play process is to not run block as much as you're pass blocking to create a hole for the running back.
I feel like too the wheel route out of the backfield has become a more involved part of the passing game than we saw early on in the season.
Yeah.
Do you think this was a scouting thing on Rutgers, or do you think this is kind of the evolution of the offense where we're starting to see, trying to just find ways to move the football?
Well, I'm hoping that they're just trying to find ways, right? I'm hoping they're seeing, and Caleb had hands, man. He caught that ball out of the backfield. It was pretty good. The only thing that I say that they really need to do with Caleb is he was on the field for 18 plays. 15 of those were runs. So you're going to be giving away keys to where, well, Caleb's out here. They're going to run, right? Mm-hmm. So I like to see them do a couple more pass plays with Caleb on the field. So then there's not that such high tendency to run with him on the field. And he showed he had quality hands. He caught that ball over the middle and he used his hands. He didn't catch it with his body. He used his hands. So that was, encouraging. The running game, I think, is really encouraging right now. And I think as long as you see what you saw against Rutgers, did you see how they were running up the middle?
Yes.
They weren't doing the zone blocking. They were doing gap, straight blocking, whatever you want to call it, right up the middle. And that was one of those plays that I was talking about where Gavin hesitated. It was a straight up the middle. It could have been a lead. It could have been, just straight dive. But they could run straight ahead. So that shows that these blockers our offensive line, when they know who to block, they're really good, right? Yeah. They can be good.
And that was all, and that all that running up the middle like that was set up by the deep shots that they took in the first half.
That helps too.
That
I mean,
helps,
that
and we're going to have to
does
take some
help.
deep shots against Michigan.
I mean, it does help, but they didn't take any deep shots that I can remember against Rutgers, did they? Besides the one to Laporta?
I think they took a couple others, and I can't remember who the target was on those. Yep, I think it was Lachey.
Okay. I don't remember any deep shots other than Laporta, but I mean, it's possible, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think it was Breck because I don't remember Breck being in the game, but maybe he was.
Oh no, he
At
was.
least they didn't throw his way.
Yeah, they didn't throw his way. They only targeted one wide receiver, and that was Bruce.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
But Breck did play. He was a dominant run blocker last week.
Jason, if you're and you want to let's. I know you would like to run the air raid, but we're not going to do that, right? So, within the confines of the Iowa offense, if we're not, give me a second. If we're injured at the wide receiver position to the point where it's, we're without guys. Can we not try to run some more 2-back sets and try to, get some wheel routes and get some different things going to where we can stay within what we want to do offensively, but still be productive?
Yeah, I mean, if you got backs that can catch the ball, and all three of them have proven they can catch the ball. I don't remember any wide open drops by any of the running backs.
Right.
No, a shotgun pro set formation would be really good, in my opinion, because a lot of times the running backs, they get lost in the shuffle. And if you actually watch the air raid, they throw it to the running backs a lot. Like they literally have 100 catches a season. The running backs do combined. So, I mean, they could do some of those principles with their running backs where, especially if they're not going to block, right? If you're not going to block anybody, you might as well just go out for a swing route, a flare route, like whatever, to give somewhere for the quarterback to throw the ball, right?
Now, I'm just thinking like if I'm Brian this week, maybe I'm drawing up where, you're in the gun. It's a play action to one of the backs while the other one, and that back stays in to be a blocker. And then the other back is sneaking out,
that's a thing too. I mean, you can do counters, you can do all kinds of things. You can run a fly sweep with like Bruce. Let Bruce come across. Like you don't need tight ends on the field, right, all the time. So you can have Bruce run across.
Oh, wait a minute! Now we're Iowa. We do have to have. We are tight end. You.
Well, I thought we were trying something different.
Well, no, within the confines of the Iowa offense here, we're still going to have 6 tight ends out there. Okay.
Okay. Hey guys, speaking of tight end, did you see how George Kittle introduced himself on the Sunday night game this week?
I did not. I was at work. What did he say?
George Kittle, tight end you.
Yeah.
Well, that's also marketing for him.
Right.
Yeah.
He's got his own camp. His tight end.
Yeah, he does.
Actually, him and Hawkinson, I think, do it together, if I remember right.
Do they do it together? Oh, yeah.
And Kelsey with the Chiefs. He's a part of that, too.
They do it, all 3 of them together?
Yeah, I believe so. It's not just Kittle. Like, he's got the best tight ends in the league doing it. So
right, he does. Too bad he doesn't got Fant working with him.
Well, I mean, I don't know that situation, but I'm not sure.
I heard Fant works with Coach Doyle in the offseason.
God. Once again, trying to get us canceled. No.
It wasn't me this time.
Fant does his own thing, which is why I was saying that. Like, Fant's not – I don't think he's a – well, you notice you don't hear about him, right?
Right.
You don't see any interviews with him. You don't see, and that's not because of talent. I just think he's like, I just want to be me, right? Mm-hmm. He's probably just doesn't like the limelight as much as he just wants to play football. That's my take on Fant. So, I just don't think. I think the reason we don't hear from the only thing that I remember him saying publicly on Twitter and was mad was his Madden rating.
Yeah. Well, and to be fair, I mean, I don't know. He was not on the best Broncos teams, right? And so,
Right.
and now he is all the way up in Seattle, and I don't think they're really awe-inspiring, and they're tucked away. And no offense to you West Coast guys, but it gets lost, especially like even when Seattle had Russell Wilson and stuff like that, and it's just the New York and Dallas and these teams, they just dominate the airwaves, whether they're good or bad.
Right.
And so and if you're in if the Broncos were a winning team and they had to find reasons why, I think we would have heard more about Fant.
Right.
I mean, that's
well,
possible.
it wasn't that long ago that Seattle had a pretty dominant run there for a while.
But Fant
That's
won
because of their defense. That's because their defense. They had a stud defense. They had Russell Wilson with Iowa's defense. I mean, they didn't really have much. Russell would just make plays at the end to win the game. But good morning, Casey. I agree with your score, by the way. Although I have 17-14.
Oh yeah. Are we giving our predictions now?
What?
Are we
talking about predictions?
Are we giving our game prediction now?
Well, I did just now, just because I saw Casey's. But I mean, I'll tell you why later.
Yeah. I'll sit on mine for a little while longer.
Yeah.
What? You're not going to do it today?
No, man, I'm going to do it today. I'm just not going to do it until we're ready to do it.
I mean,
guys, I actually forgot to get us some games to predict for today. Maybe you guys know some that we could predict you could bring up.
I mean, I could give you some if that's what you want.
Right.
Yeah, that's what we want.
Okay. I can do that pretty easy.
Yeah.
But did you give your take on the Iowa game this weekend, Dean?
Yes and no. We haven't got into it real deep because we were kind of stalling for you. But I did talk about the little article I wrote that I put on several Hawkeye sites that what I thought would be the keys to winning. And basically what I said is that I knew when I posted it that I was posting the obvious and that this would be a game plan that should be every game. But I posted it I wanted to create some discussion. And I didn't think I'd get the backlash that I did, be calling me Captain Obvious, Mr. Obvious, climb back up a tree, stuff like that. I mean, there is nothing. Why people cannot post their response without having to be bullies or nasty about it, I'll never understand.
You're talking to Iowa fans. Oh, yeah. Wait till you see hear my pregame speech tomorrow. It's going to be fun.
Iowa fans are fickle.
It's every single year. It's every single year, and it's the same fans.
You watch. If we win today, we're going to run the table and win the Big Ten West. We're going to win the Big Ten title. You watch. You just watch what Iowa fickle fans are saying.
If they win tomorrow, they're going to win the West, but they're not going undefeated.
No,
they're not going to beat Ohio State regardless. No. But they can beat.
I would like to see us come out of this 2-1, beat Michigan and Illinois.
Yep.
And after the Ohio State game, the run is there. We can run the table after that.
Oh yeah. I mean, they could still be 10-2 going off the schedule.
Right.
And I don't want to hear. And if you've noticed, I've been posting all the stats from 2016. Have you seen? I've been telling everybody.
Right.
Like everybody who says there's no way with this offense, there's no way. Do you see the offense Iowa had on the day they beat Michigan in 2016? CJ threw for 66 yards. He had a quarterback rating of 18, a QBR of 18. I mean, give me a break. This is how Iowa wins every year. That's the bottom line.
By the way,
Now-
CJ just took the game-winning snap for the Jaguars this past Sunday against the LA Chargers. So they brought him in to take a knee. So this is an NFL quarterback we're talking about.
They're trying to give CJ a letter, so they're letting him go take a snap, get him a check mark. They're going to get him a J. They're going to get him a J at the end of the year.
Oh, that way he gets to wear his varsity jacket around town. Is that what you're talking about?
That's what I'm saying.
Let's be honest. Let's be honest. That Jaguars were up enough late in that game that they could have brought out CJ for the last full drive, and it wouldn't have hurt the team at all, and give CJ a little bit of, getting his arm warm. He hasn't done anything since he was a San Francisco Niner.
That's not true. He actually came in last year when we played the Bills. Trevor Lawrence got a little bit nicked up and came out for about 4 plays. And CJ marched us right down the field. We would have had a touchdown. He had threw a beautiful pass, and it was dropped in the end zone. Then Trevor comes back in on 3rd down. We promptly fumbled the ball, and the Bills got it, and it ended the scoring drive. But
yeah, that's not how coaches think, Dean. That's how fans think. Every fan wants to see the backup quarterback, right? But that's not.
Well, it's not that. It's just that okay, don't you want to protect Lawrence? He's your franchise quarterback. Okay, you're up by 3 scores. Why not bring out the backup to take a few snaps, drive him downfield, see what he can do, rather than putting your franchise quarterback out there to get injured?
To keep the game safe.
I was more surprised the Chargers kept their starting quarterback in when they were down 38-10 versus, because he was already, has a rib cage problem. But,
But it's just like Miami, though. Miami, Tua never should have been playing. He got a concussion last week. We all saw the video, and they said, it was a back problem.
Mm-hmm.
No, he never reached for his back. He was all loopy. When
they were saying last night that
Dean froze.
There he goes. It's that California buzz.
He's using too much electricity.
Yeah.
There we go. We're back. Hey, on my computer, we were all disappeared there for a while.
Yeah.
I don't know about yours.
You got that California internet going.
Hey, I put a booster right in this room. I'm running off my booster.
It's working. Not
too much. Oh yeah. Wait a minute. I got a second line on my Wi-Fi.
You need Starlink. You need to get Starlink. Starlink will be better for you. You know what Starlink is? The smartest man on the planet has a satellite right above you that is internet that people are going to right now. Elon Musk. Yeah, he has Starlink is internet, so it's all over the world.
Really?
That's how Ukraine got internet access after all the stuff that started was from Starlink. Yeah, it's right above. I know a lot of people that are actually switched to it, and they said it's getting better and better like every month. It didn't start off perfect, obviously, but they're working to make it better. That might be what California needs to go to.
Yeah. Well, our problem is I'm sharing the same internet with my next door neighbor, my daughter and son-in-law. Okay, it's a deal that they worked out, the Uplink company. It's for rural people, and if you really want to get the same stuff that the in-town cable people give you, it costs you about $300 a month if you want to get the same speeds you get. So we're running off about 18 right now each time, and that's about right. When I test my download, I'm coming in at 9, and he's coming in around 7 or 6. I'm coming in a little stronger than he is.
All right. What do you got? What else we got here, Dean?
Oh, we just want to get more into the Michigan game. We really haven't said a whole lot about, the running backs or wide receivers. Who are you guys thinking that is going to do some damage besides the quarterback? Which I don't really think. I'm not really scared of him that much after I saw what he did against Maryland. But we got a running back that burned us twice, I think, last year on long runs. in the first half, which is the only way they scored on us last year.
He burned us once. The other one was a trick play.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah, he surprised Iowa like right away. But then the other touchdown was a trick play, and then it was 14-3 forever. Like Iowa shut him down. But if I was offense, could have done much, it would have been a completely different game regardless. Right. Because it wasn't until Petrus got hurt to where the Big Ten championship they scored 28 points in the last quarter. And it was 14-3 halfway through the third quarter. Right. Petrus gets hurt. Padilla comes in, throws an interception, and then they scored that 7 points in the third quarter. That's all they scored in the third quarter was 7. Right. And then in the fourth quarter, it was just, I think the defense was like, screw this, right? They scored 21 in the fourth quarter. It wasn't near as bad as people want to believe.
I feel like that game. I just feel like they were running the score up. They didn't have to, but
I don't think they ran. Well, by their play calling, I don't think they were running the score up. I think Iowa's defense was just like, screw it, it's over.
Gassed. No, too many 3 and outs for the Iowa offense.
No, did you know Iowa had the ball longer than Michigan?
I did not know that.
Iowa had the ball for 34 minutes of the game.
That's because early on in the game, the Iowa offense was not doing badly. We missed the chip shot field goal. We missed on the trick play that we tried to hit, but it was open.
Yeah.
We just didn't execute it. That was kind of the difference early in the game. Iowa misses the field goal, and then, we missed the trick play. And that's, meanwhile, Michigan hits theirs, and, the rest is somewhat history.
That's how it was. It would have been 14-10, right?
Yeah.
Because they hit the field goal.
Or 14. No. I think
the missed field goal
missed, and then we missed the field goal on top of it. It was a double whammy.
Right in the very first drive of the game.
Right.
Where that would have been 7-0 Iowa, right? And then the next drive, they drove down and kicked a field goal, so that would have made it 10-7. Because I think it was Michigan's first drive they did that long run, if I remember right. Corum went on the very first drive for Michigan. But Iowa's offense the whole first quarter was moving the ball. They had the ball the longest in the first quarter.
And by the way, had Iowa been able to stick around, even 14-3 at halftime, to an extent, because we're not an explosive offense, takes us out of what we really want to do and be that run first team. It took, and then we have to bring in our backup quarterback on top of it. It really took us out of our element. And by the way, they had, two elite pass rushers, in Hutchinson and Ngakoue or whatever the other guy's name was.
Yeah. Right. And that's what they don't have, right?
Right.
But this leads me to the scariest players for me is Enoma. If we hear his name, which I hope we don't, but Harbaugh did say he's going to play more than he has been all year. Of course, he's going to pick this week. The dude only has 1 sack in his career, and he's a senior, but he was a top 50 recruit in the history of all recruiting, went to Alabama, turned into Lawrence Taylor, right, off the field. And so it ended up having to go to the community colleges. And then this year showed up a week before the season starts for Michigan. So that's why he's not seeing time. He went in there one play against, I want to say it was Hawaii, which that doesn't say a lot, right? But he got a sack. The dude's a beast if they turn him loose, but they can only turn him loose on passing downs, right? He's basically like A.J. Epinesa was, and the reason he didn't start right away is because he couldn't stop the run. So that's a huge part of what this is. So I just hope he stays on the sideline. They lost their Hutchinson and, the other dude that was just destroying Iowa's offense, right?
Right.
So, I'm not afraid of Michigan at all for Iowa. The only thing is because I'm not afraid of their offense at all because JJ is not that good. JJ's going to throw 3 or 4 picks. Granted, if they don't throw it a lot and they think they can use his legs, that's going to be a different story. He's going to get hit a few times, though. Jack Campbell might have another quarterback he knocks out, right? And they don't have a backup either. So, I mean, they do, but he's not very good because their other starter that started in the Big Ten championship game is hurt. He's out for at least half the season.
Yeah. If Iowa can make this a field position game, if we can keep that Michigan offense backed up in that south end zone, we got a real chance. We just got to muddy it up. I mean, and you know, this is going to sound probably very similar to what I'll say against, you know, Ohio State too. We've got to muddy it up. If we can keep the game in a low scoring, you know, 14-7, 10-7 at half, all of a sudden it's 13-10 in the third quarter, that kind of thing, then we're right where we want to be. But
right.
You know, if we're down and if we happen to be up 10 in the third quarter, then, you know, it might be lights out for Michigan. So
double score. Yeah, just get up 2 scores. And I don't mean 2 touchdowns. Like you said, 10 points. Get up a touchdown and a field goal and just ride it out like you do every other game, right? That's what I mean, that's how they beat Michigan in 2016 as well. Not only that, though, we had Desmond King returning punts.
Yeah.
So in that final field goal, if you remember on the game-winning field goal drive, it wasn't the drive, it was the punt return by King that set it all up. There was a face mask.
I think there was a face mask penalty.
Right.
Yeah, but he also
return.
It was tacked on at the end, so Iowa had great field position after that.
I mean, literally, they had it at like the 40 or 35-yard line.
Yeah, Iowa went about 4 yards and kicked the field goal and won.
Right. So, yeah. So, I mean, that could be the same thing because Bruce is a heck of a punt returner. The question is Bruce healthy? But I guess DeJean, we haven't seen it yet, but I can almost guarantee you he can return punts too. I mean, we saw what he did with the football in the open field when he caught the interception, right? He wasn't going to just run down the sideline and get what he can. He was going to go where they weren't and get a touchdown. That's what he did.
Mm-hmm. You know, I think when it comes to
– Are we going to see Terry Roberts this week?
It's a game time decision.
Okay.
Nobody knows. Not even Kirk knows. He's got to wait until warm-ups.
You know what? If we can't have him full-time, if we could just have him on punt coverage, that would be huge.
Yeah. So it's not just all Cooper.
Right.
Right? Because right now, last week, it was all Cooper. If you notice, Cooper was down there. But for whatever reason, I don't know what it is because they're not the fastest 2 players on the team. So, I mean, they got to be able to find other gunners that are actually faster, but they just have to have the mentality to get to the ball, right?
Right.
I mean, it also is an instinct to know where the ball is because they just know where it's at. So where a lot of people will look at the people trying to block them to get around them and stuff, where these 2 know where the ball's at. You can't fake them with a fair catch because they know where the ball's at.
Well, I think we actually have a punter that can tactically strike with the football, right? Like you know, he's not just punting it away and the ball goes where the ball goes. I mean, I honestly think, you know, like they break the huddle for the punt and Torrey's going, hey, left hash. You know what I mean? Yeah, this is where
that's possible too. Yeah. Oh no. He knows exactly where he's putting that damn ball.
Right.
Which is huge.
And so, you know, now you've got Terry and Coop, you know, meet me at the left hash.
Right. I mean, that's very possible as well. But, like, there's just nothing – gosh, the only thing that really makes me nervous would be turnovers for Iowa, right? If they fumble the ball. Because the only reason they lost Iowa State is because they fumbled.
Right.
I mean, the only reason they didn't score a touchdown against South Dakota State was because they fumbled. So, I mean, that's the only thing that scares me is if they turn the ball over. Because if you turn the ball over, then
And granted, competition levels have not been the same. But both the Nevada and the Rutgers defenses were near the top in the country in turnover margin. They had been turning people over.
Yeah. No, you're right.
And Iowa didn't turn the ball over in either game. So there's that.
Right. And they had and Spencer missed on a lot of wide open receivers. And Laporta dropped 3 balls. I mean, he can't do that. He can't drop those dang balls. That's his step for the NFL. He's got everything. No, his next step is just he can't drop the dang. He's Noah Fant at Iowa, right? And a lot of times these guys can catch an NFL ball better than they can because their hands are just so big that they can catch an NFL ball better than they do the college ball, which is smaller. So and that's part of what Fant hasn't really had the drop problems in the NFL that he had in college. So I'm wondering if Laporta, but you still got to cradle some of those. He drops when they're like right here. Like last week he dropped one that literally hit him right in. I mean, dude, I would have caught it, right? I mean, I can't run like you, but dang it, if I had that opportunity right there, I would have caught that ball. That's the difference. When you're wide open and the ball, I understand if you get popped and you drop it, but there was one drop that he had that there was nobody there to hit him. So, but he just dropped the ball. So there's so many things that this offense could be better at that aren't on the coaches, right? That literally are on the players. All this talk about the coaching staff that's on the players when you see the wide open receivers. And seeing Petrus was mad at himself for missing Bruce on that touchdown, that says a lot. So he saw it. He just saw it too late, right? So, and I don't know how Laporta reacts to dropping passes, but
I want to say there was in the Rutgers game, Spencer threw, I think, like a corner route to Laporta in the end zone. And he had Bruce uncovered in the flat, just completely uncovered. Just didn't see him.
Yeah, that's the play I'm talking about. And he went straight over to Bruce, is what I was told, and apologized to him right away. And apparently the camera panned to Petrus, and you could see the emotion on his face that, oh no, that he missed it. So, and I was told he went straight over to Bruce, apologized. But on that play that you're talking about, I watched the replay of that play. Have you seen? I've been sharing that play. I don't know if you've seen that. I've been showing people what coaches see and what Petrus needs to see. Laporta should have caught that. I didn't realize that was counted as a drop. So that was put up in the corner of the end zone. He was double covered, but Laporta had that ball in his hands, right? And that wasn't an easy catch. But to PFF or whatever, that was counted as a drop. That was because I could not find – they had him with 3 drops, and I could only find 2. But that one was one they actually counted as a drop, and I didn't realize.
Okay. I don't know. If you get your hands on it,
okay. I just wanted to say we're coming up on the hour. Maybe we should make our game predictions and then any other extracurricular games we want to talk about, and then get out of here for the day. What do you guys think?
You got
okay.
Go ahead, Paul.
Well, this one's tough on me, right? Like, my heart says, look, Iowa has a real chance at this thing. If we play good football, if the offense is just okay, if Spencer is just okay, we got a chance at this thing. Then there's the other part of me that's like, have you seen the Iowa offense?
They don't win with offense.
Right. I know.
So that doesn't matter.
They don't win with offense, but they can definitely lose with it. And can they score enough, which is sad, right? Because, the defense isn't going to give up. I think we hold them under 25 because that seems to be the magic number for Iowa's defense. Can we get to 24 without a defensive or special team score? I don't know that we can.
They won't need to do that. Yeah, they won't do that. That's I don't see that either. I'm with you.
But I do think we do get a defensive score, and so I'm gonna take the Hawks 17-16.
I like it. I don't care. Even if it's a last second, no time on a clock field goal to win 17-16, I'm all for it.
We're down 16-14. Drew Stevens drills it for the 17-16 win.
Yes, I'm all for it. I don't
let's
see.
make it more dramatic. It's a 60-yard field goal.
Oh, I love it. Yes.
He did say that he's good from 55 everywhere. It doesn't matter where
from the logo. From the
right.
logo.
He
my God! Another logo person in the Hawkeye history.
He did say that he's good from 55. Like at everywhere he goes, that's his mark. It'll depend on weather, if he can go farther or whatever. But they asked him in his last interview this week, and he told them that I'm good from 55. That's the mark they start with before they determine because of weather and stuff like that. So hey, the weather, maybe he's got some wind at his back, and 60 it is, right?
Jason, you said 17-10 for you? 17-14.
Yeah, I just don't see how Michigan moves the ball very well because of Jaden. Like I said, the only thing that would is if they come out and surprise us and run JJ. Because they don't use him as a running quarterback. They use him as a throwing quarterback, which is what Michigan does. They use all their quarterbacks same way Iowa does. But he runs a 4.40, right? So he's fast, but they have yet to use him in that area. So the only way I see them actually moving the ball in Iowa is if they use him as a runner, like surprise Iowa and do straight running quarterback plays. Now, I don't know if they will because they can't afford – if JJ gets hurt, they're in a world of hurt regardless, right? So, but, I mean, that was the only thing that I see. And I see 3 or 4 interceptions from JJ, which he should have had last week, but Maryland's not Iowa. So I just don't – and I think Iowa will probably score a few field goals maybe. But I think there'll be a special teams touchdown, defensive touchdown. There's going to be some way that Iowa scores the touchdown. And the only way I could see Iowa really losing is if they fumble away the game like they did Iowa State. So they just can't do that. They only have 2 fumbles on the year though, right? It just happened to be inside the 5-yard line, both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
okay. I'm going to flip-flop here. After I convinced myself writing that article that I thought Michigan was going to win, I convinced myself that if Iowa did all those things, they could win. So I'm going to give it to Iowa 20-15.
The magic of Kinnick.
Yeah. I mean, it's real. Think about the last time. Just think about the last time they lost to a top 5 team. It was on the last play of the game. They had the lead. And a quarterback who's in the NFL, Trace McSorley, made a good throw. And they had Barkley, who
and
we were trying to cover
both in the NFL.
Yeah, we were trying to cover with Josie Jewell, right? Mm-hmm. Remember all those swing passes to Barkley, and Jewell was out there one-on-one in the flat, and Jewell had no shot on so many of those that. So yeah, I mean it's a thing. It doesn't matter. They've never have a top offense. This whole offense thing does not bother me at all. I mean, it does. It hurts my soul because that's who I am. When I see wide open receivers and I don't know what's said to Petrus, like I don't know if they mean because like this is what I would tell him. Let's just pretend if I was in the huddle, right? If I was Petrus, I would be like, because you know the play call, you know Laporta's in the corner, you know Bruce is coming underneath, right? I would tell Bruce, be ready, look for the ball, run your best route, because Laporta, I'm guessing, was the primary, so that's why he threw that. If Laporta is covered, I'm coming right to you. That was on the same side of the field. He's looking that direction. So that should have been said in the huddle. If I'm quarterback coach, that's what I would teach him, is you know what's going to happen. So that's part of a pre-snap thing where you don't know the coverage yet because you're in the huddle. But you're like, okay, Laporta is going to run the corner route, but Bruce, run your best route because if Laporta is covered like he was, I'm going to hit you, right? That has stuff like that has to be said. And then you get up to the line of scrimmage and you see the coverage, and you're like, okay, it looks like it's possible that they might double cover because they used the safety to double cover Laporta, right? And Bruce came underneath wide open. That should have just been a natural thing in my head as a quarterback because you're looking that way. Okay, they're doubling Laporta. You know he had to have seen it. And then there's Bruce coming right across your face. So it's not like he has to look over here and throw it. It's the same way. So it's stuff like that has to be said, but I don't know what's being told to Petrus at all. I don't.
The only thing that makes sense there is that, I mean, it was predetermined. Look, I'm coming to you, right? Like that's what was said in the huddle. Hey, I'm coming to you.
You can't do that. You got to have at least two receivers.
Well, I think
Laporta was the primary. I will say Laporta was the primary, but you got to have if he's double or triple covered, you can't throw that, right?
My gut tells me
it hit him in the hand.
My gut tells me that Petrus goes to his primary more often than not. Okay, we got a couple other games that I do have listed here. Illinois at Wisconsin. Who do you guys like?
I like Illinois. I'm going with Illinois.
You're going with Illinois.
I'm gonna take the Badgers. I just the game's in Madison.
It is.
And I think Wisconsin probably wants to. I can't see them going. I can't see them having 3 losses this early in the season. They've already lost to Washington State, Ohio State. If it was Illinois State, maybe I would take Illinois State. But
there's just something in Wisconsin that's not right. Their fans are already calling for the coach to be fired. So I'm just going off of like a gambling man. Like I wouldn't bet this. I would not bet this at all. But with Brett coming into town, I don't know. I think it's going to be a good game.
I expect Wisconsin to play better than they did against Ohio State. That's all.
Yeah. Well, I'm also picking Wisconsin in this game.
Good. I want the lead.
I was tempted to pick Illinois because my first instinct was Illinois. And I thought, I just think everything is right for Wisconsin. Okay, Purdue at Minnesota.
Oh, Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesota. After giving it some thought, I don't.
It's Minnesota for me because I don't think Purdue's very good. I mean, watching them play against Florida Atlantic, where they could have lost that game. They won 28-26. Watching them play against Syracuse and Penn State. Yeah, they hung with Penn State, but they needed a pick 6 just to get to 30 points, right? So the offense is a one-man show, and that's not going to do it.
Well, you know what it is for me is the end of that Syracuse game when Jeff Brom and their players just completely had a mental meltdown. Like those are some mental midgets there in West Lafayette. And, if they get into a situation, in a late game situation, they obviously don't have the maturity or mental capacity to handle it.
Yep. No, that's a huge part of why I think we learned a lot about Purdue in that game, the coaching staff, everybody.
I, too, am picking Minnesota in this game. This will be the first real tough experience that our Charlie has to go up against, and I'll be interested to see what Minnesota has lined up for him. To see if Charlie gets a few, be kind of a hint of what we can do against him later.
I mean, here's the thing about Purdue. They don't run the football especially well, and this is the Big Ten. It's the Big Ten. I don't care how good you can throw the football. If you can't run the football, you can't win in this league.
That's why Purdue doesn't win. Yeah, that's 100%. That's why Purdue doesn't win.
The other thing to take in consideration is O'Connell didn't finish the game last week. Is he playing this week?
Did he even start last week?
I don't think he played at all against FAU.
He didn't play? Okay, I thought he started.
I think Purdue thought they were bigger than what they really are. I think O'Connell plays this week. I think he probably should have played last week, but he was dinged up, so they thought, well, it's Florida Atlantic, and they almost got beat.
Yeah.
Okay. So he's not
But I
that
think
dinged up. He
O'Connell
probably
plays
play
this
then.
week. Yeah, if O'Connell doesn't
Okay.
play, it's a blowout.
Okay, that's all the games I've got right now. The rest of the Big Ten games I thought were obvious, and I didn't want to pick any obvious picks.
Well, what about Oklahoma TCU?
I like TCU in this game.
Do you?
I was thinking Indiana, Nebraska has a chance to be a barn burner.
Yeah, that's another one.
You know,
I'm gonna like that game. I'll take TCU as well, and I'll take Nebraska in that Indiana-Nebraska game.
Oh yeah,
the way Indiana's using Bazelak, I don't like it. So I mean, I don't understand what they're doing. I don't understand what they're trying to do. So,
and Nebraska's coming off a bye week. Maybe they got their stuff together.
Yeah, they could easily. I mean, this could be the week where Mickey Joseph literally puts his stamp on the team, right? They got rid of the defensive coordinator, perfect timing, right before bye week, so they can get all their ducks in a row. This will be the first, and I think Nebraska's got more talent than Indiana.
Absolutely.
So this will be the first game where you'll see what the coaching staff can actually do, right? In my opinion.
We might see a little bit of a turnaround. Huh?
We need your picks for those two games.
Yeah, I'm taking Nebraska, and it was what, TCU and Oklahoma?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll take Oklahoma. I do think they just didn't play well against Kansas State. I do think they'll
come back.
They'll course correct there. And as far as Nebraska goes, look, they could turn things around a little bit, right? I mean, they've got the Big Ten West schedule ahead of them. I don't think that they're playing Michigan or Ohio State either. So,
yeah, I don't think so.
I'd have to look and see exactly who their crossovers are, but I mean, right now, now they already have lost to Northwestern, but
Scott Frost.
They still have Wisconsin and
Iowa and Minnesota
and Purdue ahead of them. So those are going to be those aren't going to be great games for Nebraska. They're going to be tough games, and so
obviously
we'll see,
one of their crossover games is Indiana because they're playing them tomorrow. Yeah. So I don't know who their other crossover game is, but
I mean they could beat Purdue. I mean they could beat some of these teams. So like the West is not very good. I mean
no.
And outside of Ohio State and Michigan, and I guess Penn State's pretty good.
Right. I don't even think Michigan's up there. We'll find out this weekend, right?
Right.
But I think Michigan is way overrated. They're still ranked from last year's teams where they had all that NFL talent on defense.
And of course, they're Michigan. So, you know what I mean?
Well,
they get a little bit of name ID attached to that, the winged helmet,
You're right. You're 100% right. Hey, I got one for you guys real quick. Iowa State, Kansas. Have you watched Kansas yet?
I have.
They're my favorite team to watch offensively. Right?
Their quarterback's a little Brad Banks clone.
Oh yeah, no, for real.
He is.
I mean, who's the head coach there at Kansas?
Leopold.
Leopold.
Okay. Leopold.
Yeah,
he's really
good. Is the game
good.
at Iowa State or at Kansas?
It's at Kansas.
At Kansas.
I'm picking Kansas.
Oh, I'm going to pick Kansas too.
I like the Kansas pick.
Oh yeah, and they stay undefeated. Iowa State's 3-1, right? Yeah.
No.
Kansas is 4-0. Iowa State's 3-1. So
I thought Iowa State just got beat by
they did.
Baylor.
That was their first loss.
That was their first loss.
Okay.
Remember they lost? They beat Iowa. Remember?
Well, I knew that.
That's usually their only loss is the Iowa non-conference.
I kind of want to look at it like they didn't beat Iowa. Iowa beat Iowa in that game.
I mean, yeah, they really did. Right, fumbling inside the 5. Poor scary Terry falling down the interception. I mean, the 99-yard drive just freaking erased that 99-yard drive, and Iowa wins.
Iowa
if that doesn't happen, Iowa wins.
Victory. So,
yeah.
What's
that drive? That 99-yard drive was helped by a couple of controversial calls. Along the way,
right. But we're not going to be Iowa State. We're not going to blame it on the refs.
No.
Fumbling inside the 5 really is what lost it.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
falling down, short of the goal line versus and then having to run that play,
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, for real. All right, those are the only picks I have, guys.
That looks good enough for me. That's 6 games, including Iowa.
Unless you want to pick Michigan State, Maryland. Michigan State just looks awful, guys.
I don't know where they at. Maryland.
It's at Maryland.
I'll take the home team. If it's at Maryland, I'll take Maryland.
But think about this, though. There's a running back last year named Kenneth Walker that made that head coach $10 million a year. Think about that.
He has some kickback.
Yeah. Michigan State went 10-2. So Michigan State paid their coach $10 million a year and off of Kenneth Walker's back.
Hey, fun fact. Good.
Is he the highest paid coach in the Big Ten?
I think he is. Unless Day got a raise at Ohio State. I don't think he did. He's only making 7.5.
Yeah. Fun fact, by the way, he was Jaguars head coach for like 2 games as an interim head coach.
Oh, was he? I did not know that. I just know he was Colorado's head coach, and you see where Colorado's at too.
He was the Jaguars like defensive coordinator, and then we fired Gus Bradley, I think, or somebody, some douche quarter or head coach that we had along the way.
Right.
So except for one season at Michigan State, this guy's never won anywhere.
No, he hasn't. I mean, look at Colorado now. He came from Colorado to Michigan State.
Yeah, they had a losing record his first and only year at Colorado.
Dude, they don't care in Colorado. They've got, Rocky Mountain High. Okay, so they don't care.
They don't care. They got dummies. They just take dummies.
You remember when what's his name? What was the guy's name that had that team for years and had a national caliber every year?
I know who you're
keeper guy.
About. I know who you're talking about.
I mean, if
they
you're
haven't
going
been
back
the
to
same since the promise keeper guy retired.
Was there. Are you going back to the days of like Cordell Stewart or whatever? Wasn't he their quarterback?
Yeah, he was their quarterback. But it goes before that.
Wow.
They had a stud quarterback. Do you remember Holloway at Oklahoma?
No.
When they won a national championship, Colorado had a quarterback just like him. Okay. When I think Colorado went undefeated in like 1990 or something at the same time period. The ESPN FBS has Iowa State beating Kansas 62%. So that's why you don't believe that FBF crap or FPI, whatever the heck ESPN calls it.
By the way, going back to a Colorado coach, I think he had he had a running back, not a running back, but his starting quarterback made his daughter pregnant. Now, how's that awkwardness? When you go in,
would that have been like?
I'm sorry, I've been dating your daughter and she's pregnant.
Would that have been like Rick Neuheisel or something?
I mean, he was their coach, but this was before that.
It was the Promise Keepers coach, but I can't think of his name now. I watched a 30 for 30 special on him, and it's on Netflix right now. It's on Netflix Disney Plus. It's on Disney Plus. A whole story about it.
Oh boy!
But his quarterback also died before he finished his senior year.
Ooh.
He had some kind of a cancerous disease. He quarterbacked the team for like 2.5 years, and then didn't quarterback the last year, and then he died during the year.
You're talking about Bill McCartney.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he had them. They won a national title with him as coach.
Yeah.
I think it was 1990. But anyway. Yeah, those are the only games I got. I'm just ready for tomorrow, man. I'm glad it's 11 o'clock game. I'm ready.
Right. You and Jason, why don't you pimp your little pregame thing real quick here, and so everybody knows what time to tune in to hear your thing tomorrow.
Oh, it's 10:30, right?
Yeah, it's 10:30.
Yeah,
10:30 Central Time, guys. Don't pay attention to that thing that's out there. I tried to go in every place I posted that. I tried to go in and make sure everybody understands It's 10:30, 1/2 hour before kickoff.
All you have to do is edit the very first one you wrote it on, and then it'll change on all of them.
I actually did. I did change one
okay.
yesterday, and I noticed it changed.
Okay.
Changed a couple of them.
But yeah, tomorrow morning, 10:30. This is going to be the game. There's a game every year, and the group who asked me to do this is like tired of the haters. Like every single week, they just pick Iowa to lose, just to pick Iowa to lose. So tomorrow we're gonna have some fun with the haters, because every year there's that one game, and Michigan's that game. It's gonna be Iowa's. It's gonna make or break Iowa's season, right? Because if they don't win this game, I mean, I don't think they're going to beat Ohio State regardless what they do tomorrow. So that will be 3 losses for Iowa no matter what. So tomorrow
3 losses, but we can still keep it at 2 losses in the Big Ten.
Well, right. I'm talking about on the season.
Yeah.
Like if they lose tomorrow, regardless what happens, the college football playoffs out, and I don't think they can win the Big Ten championship game. So that will be 4 losses, because that's still against Ohio State. As much as I
got
hate
a question for you. What if we do get into the West Championship? We lose to Ohio State the first time. Do you think we have an advantage the second time?
I mean, I want to say yes. My heart wants to say yes. I got to be careful, because, all my positiveness with my Hawks. But every time I watch Ohio State, Ohio State has just got an embarrassment of riches, I think, is what Paul coined it as, like in our preseason. I can't see it, because they can run the ball, they can throw the ball. I mean, they got the best running back in the Big Ten. They got the best wide receivers in the Big Ten, the best quarterback in the Big Ten, and their defense with the new defensive coordinator is coming along. If their defense is going to play like they are right now, I mean, serious. Do you see what they did? Yeah, Wisconsin.
So Ohio State's.
Go ahead.
No, this is fine. We're getting a delay, which is why I think you're done, but you're really not, and that's why I keep talking over you guys, because I'm getting a freeze and a delay up here.
I just don't see Ohio State losing a game until the playoffs, and the only team I think that can beat them, to be really honest, is Georgia. Okay. That's the only team. Alabama's not going to do it, and I think
Iowa's team, Georgia.
Yeah, I think. Right. The 5-star Iowa team, Georgia. Do you have some butterflies floating around, Paul?
No, why?
Because you're like, like a little kid in the outfield looking at the butterflies.
All right, guys, let's get out of here. We've done enough damage for one day.
Right.
And guys, tune in at 10:30 a.m. tomorrow to hear what Jason has to say.
It's going to be fun. I can't wait.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye, Terry.
Bye, Terry.
Bye, Terry.